Hello, welcome to the Jim RPG show. Nvidia issued a Q&A response to the RTX 3080 launch and the lack of supply of cards available. So I thought it'd be pretty interesting to take a look at their responses and see what they said. And then afterwards, I want to give you my thoughts on why production is so low at launch and what happens to the price of the cards when the stocks are so low. So on the official Nvidia website, Nvidia has gone and answered a lot of questions that I'm sure everybody had on their minds. So essentially they said, the reception to our Nvidia Ampere architecture GPUs has been off the charts and driven interest to heights we've never previously experienced. A few examples compared to our previous launch: 4 times the unique visitors to our website, 10 times the peak web requests per second, and more than 15 times the outclicks to partner pages. So the first question is, what happened? I was really excited for the GeForce RTX 3080 launch, but the launch has made it near impossible to find one, and this is really disappointing. The demand for the GeForce RTX 3080 was truly unprecedented. We and our partners underestimated it. Over 50 major global retailers had inventory on the day of launch. Our retail partners reported record traffic to their sites, in many cases exceeding Black Friday. This caused crashes, delays, and other issues for their customers. We knew the GeForce RTX 3080 would be popular, but none of us expected that much traffic on the first day. And I think just with that 50 major global retailers, I think that's a pretty small number and it indicates to me that there's pretty low stock available. The next question is, what's the overall GeForce RTX 3080 stock situation? The GeForce RTX 3080 is in full production. We began shipping GPUs to our partners in August and have been increasing the supply weekly. Partners are also ramping up capacity to meet the unprecedented demand. We understand that many gamers are unable to buy a GeForce RTX 3080 right now, and we are doing everything we can to catch up quickly. So that makes a lot of sense to me because we saw photos of the stock cooler around June or July, so it makes sense that the partners were getting their cards around about August. Now in terms of ramping up capacity, that's more to do with Samsung and how much capacity that they actually ordered. So I think they're two separate things, and if there was a bottleneck, the bottleneck would probably lie with Samsung and not with the board partners, because there's so many of those board partners, but there's only one Samsung who's manufacturing the GPU. Why does availability start with such low inventory? Why not wait until more cards are produced? We have great supply, just not for this level of demand. It is typical for initial demand to exceed supply for our new GPUs. A global network of partners are ramping as hard as they can to get the new GPUs to the more than 100 million GeForce gamers around the world. Now, in regards to the low inventory, that's because there's so much demand at launch, they can't really cater for it, because when they make an announcement, that pretty much means that everybody wants to buy one, because most people, if the price is $699 for the MSRP, they will want to buy one so that they can use it for the whole life of that GPU. The next question is, what changes are you making to the Nvidia store moving forward? As with many other e-tailers, the Nvidia store was also overrun with malicious bots and resellers. To combat this challenge, we have made the following changes. We moved our Nvidia store to a dedicated environment with increased capacity and more bot protection. We updated the code to be more efficient on the server load. We integrated capture to the checkout flow to help offset the use of bots. We implemented additional security protections to the store APIs, and more efforts are underway. So I think it's pretty interesting that Nvidia has addressed this issue head on, which is good, and that they're going to update the store and hopefully protect it from bots in the future. But honestly, as with all things that are hacking related, once protection gets better, then the hackers will generally come back with new and improved ways to hack the system. So this is kind of like just an ongoing cycle. So I think everybody knows that even if they implemented all of these changes, that this is not the end of it. There are so many other ways that these opportunistic resellers are able to get their hands on stock. If not for going on this website, maybe they would get it in an underhanded way with retailers, and maybe they will pay the retailers more. So either way, this isn't going to stop these resellers from getting their hands on these cards on day one. Now I'll leave it there just to keep the video short, but there are some other questions and answers there, including one about why people didn't get email notifications. Essentially the entire site went down and then nobody got one. But you can go and check out all those questions and answers yourself. So I want to talk about how I think Nvidia runs their production and why the stock numbers are so low at launch. And of course, I'm completely speculating here because nobody knows any launch numbers and how many they have at launch, and they'll never say. But I want to speculate on why there's such a low number at launch. And then also I want to talk about what happens when there are such low numbers in terms of prices and why the price is so high on the secondary market. So obviously that is simple supply and demand. And then finally, I want to talk about the profit split between Nvidia and how they split that with their partners and also the retailers and distributors and that sort of thing. So I just want everyone to keep in mind here that from here on out, I'm basically speculating most of what I'm going to say. This is what I think happens with Nvidia. And if you don't agree, that's great, because leave your comments in the comments below and then we can have further discussion on it. And you know, there are some numbers on the graphs, but they're not important because nobody knows the actual numbers. The numbers really there just to illustrate a concept or a point that I'm trying to make. The first graph is the demand versus production over time. Now, as you can see, there is a very high amount of demand at launch, and that's because when Nvidia announces a new GPU, everybody wants the card straight away. However, Nvidia isn't going to fulfill all of this demand straight away. It wouldn't make sense for them to, because once someone buys a card, they're not going to buy another one. So as you can see, the demand will decrease as Nvidia sells people cards. So Nvidia isn't going to make, as this graph says, 10 million GPUs in the first month. They'll stretch this out over time and fulfill the demand over, say, 6 months and make, say, 2 million GPUs a month, for example. If you try to fulfill that launch demand straight away, that's too many production lines and too much equipment required. And then, as you can see, after demand slows down, Nvidia will taper the production to meet the demand so there's no extra stock sitting on the shelves. The second graph is a simple demand versus supply chart that could be used for any commodity. At launch, there's a lot less supply, so when there's a smaller number of goods and a lot of people chasing the same goods, the price goes up. As the price rises, fewer people can afford it, so eventually the price will set itself based on the amount of goods in the market. This explains why there's such high prices in the market, because there's so few GPUs available. Now, this third graph shows the revenue split between the different parties. So essentially, this graph is derived from the financial year reports that claim that Nvidia's gross margin is 60%. Now, obviously, we don't know the exact margin on these cards, and Nvidia will never say, but let's just go with the 60% assumption. Now, I'm going to assume that Nvidia proportions 20% of the card's price to other parties. And for simplicity's sake, I've said the AIB partner gets 12%, retailers 6%, and distributor 2%. It doesn't matter what these numbers are, but ultimately I just want to use these numbers to illustrate a point between two scenarios. And that leaves about 80% of the price of the GPU to Nvidia, of which 60% is the gross profit and 40% is the cost of producing the GPU. Now I want to explain how I think Nvidia claims the lion's share of the profits when selling their GPUs. There are a few comments in my previous videos about bots and scalpers that said that the AIBs paid a fixed price for the GPUs, but I think they actually pay the market price, and I'll explain. So there are two scenarios. Scenario one, where the AIB pays a fixed GPU price to Nvidia that doesn't change with the market. Now that would be a very silly thing for Nvidia to do, because they would leave money on the table. A fixed GPU price doesn't work if there's low supply of the GPU and high demand. And it would be the AIB partners, the retailers, and the distributors that would pick up the bulk of the profits in this scenario. As you can see in the second column, if the price suddenly doubled to $1,400, AIBs would make the majority of the profit. Nvidia, as the market leader and the supplier of what everyone in the market wants, wouldn't just let AIB partners take all the profits. Therefore, I think it's more likely that scenario 2 happens, where Nvidia are reviewing the price over time, say every couple of weeks, and selling small batches of GPUs to the AIB partners. That way, they know what the price of GPUs are on the market. Tom from Moore's Law is Dead said that there would be cashback from Nvidia to AIB partners in the first 2 weeks from launch, indicating that margins were going to be tight because GPU price was going to be high from Nvidia. Ultimately though, everybody still wins with this system, and with a high price in the market, the AIB partners still make their 12%, but now it's from $1,400 revenue and not $699. Alright, that's my take on the low stock situation right now and of the very high prices of the GPUs. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, like the video if you like it, and make sure to subscribe to this channel for more gaming videos, and I'll see you in the next one.